Trump rolls out sweeping new tariffs. The White House is holding an event today at 4 where we'll finally learn the tariff details, and which the president says will start right away. President Trump is warning there will be no exceptions, and now some countries are preparing to issue counter tariffs with hopes to work out some new trade deals. Families right here in Connecticut want to know how they could feel the impact. Your reporter Marcy Jones is live in Cromwell this morning breaking down the basics. So Marcy, walk us through where we go from here.
Good morning, Tracy. Well, you'll notice that I'm in front of a grocery store, and just one of the places that you could feel the biggest impact. Lots of produce like fruits and vegetables from Canada, China, and Mexico, all countries facing tariffs. While the specifics of the tariffs have not yet been announced, an estimate from the budget lab at Yale University shows that a 20% universal tariff would cost the average household an additional $3,400 to $4,200 a year. This follows the president's announcement of a 25% tariff on all imported vehicles. The administration says the goals include to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., respond to unfair trade policies from other countries, and increase tax revenue. Today, Governor Ned Lamont is expected to meet with some Connecticut business owners to discuss the impact on their business. That's happening at Hartford at 11. Your reporter in Cromwell, Marcy Jones, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.